It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of March 11th, 2005. We've got 4 movies to look at today, including the latest film from Blue Sky Studios, the creators of Ice Age, the new film with Bruce Willis in it, the new film with Kevin Costner and Joan Allen, and the new film from Danny Boyle. So we have some interesting movies to get to, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is, of course, Blue Sky Studios' follow-up to Ice Age, Robots. So, Robots is one of those movies that I really was a big fan of from the very beginning, and it's really hard not to see why from that trailer alone. You got a story here that centers around an ambitious inventor robot named Rodney Copperbottom, played by Ewan McGregor, who seeks his idol Big Will, played by Mel Brooks, to work for his company in Robot City, but discovers a plot by its new leader Ratchet, played by Greg Kinnear, and his mother Jim Broadbent, to forcibly upload its populace and eradicate struggling robots known as Outmodes. In addition, you have a cast that also includes the previously mentioned Halle Berry, Amanda Bynes, Drew Carey, Robin Williams, Jennifer Coolidge is also in there, as well as many voices. Like, this movie has a ton of voices in here, even for like little roles in the movie. Like, they're all over the place. Like, let's give you kind of a rundown here of the names that weren't mentioned in that trailer, but are definitely part of the film. Harlem Williams, Stanley Tucci, Diane Wiest, Natasha Lyonne, Paul Giamatti, Dan Hedaya, Jay Leno, Paula Abdul and Randy Jackson from American Idol, because this was on Fox at the time, Al Roker, Stephen Tobolowsky, James Earl Jones, Monica Bellucci, Vincent Cassell. Just a ton of names in this movie, and these are people that play small roles in the movie as well. Like, these are people that don't play like big names in the movie. Like, they're just one-off characters. Like, the Paul Abdul and Randy Jackson are wristwatch that are seen in one scene in particular, and really you wouldn't have even known they were there unless I told you they were there, and they were the wristwatch. Paul Giamatti's the puppet gatekeeper of Big World Industries. James Earl Jones is the voice box that one of the characters uses, and he's doing the Darth Vader voice. Like, it's random voice acting all over the place from all these different names in general. And yeah, this was back in the time when they did use the names to sell these movies. I mean, the animation didn't really sell the movies back then, but nowadays we kind of have gotten to the point where let the animation sell itself. Like you see in trailers now, they show you all the animation, and then when they get to the credits, they show you the names that show up at the end of the trailer, instead of just what they did back then. But the movie itself, though, is really, really good. It's a really inventive film. The creative world they set up here is really nicely done. Just the way the imagination of this movie is so incredible to look at. The Crosstown Express scene, where Rodney meets Robin Williams' character Fender. Like, that scene in particular is a ton of fun to watch. I was just watching it again to get ready to talk about this movie, man. And it still holds up to this very day. It's still an incredible scene in general. It just works on so many levels, on a technical level, on a comedy level. This is a very good movie, man. The characters are a lot of fun. The main voice actors, I think, do a very good job of handling these roles in general. The comedy can be very funny. The story itself, kind of been there, done that type of stuff here. We've seen the story kind of done to death already, but it doesn't really hurt the film overall because it's doing a good enough job standing out on its own with the visuals and the comedy and the way that they do the action sequences and all here. Like, they are all very well done. Yeah, sometimes it can get a little too formulaic at times, but then there are times when it can be very progressive. It actually talks about, like, issues, like I said, it talks about the issues of, like, sort of kind of like gentrification, where you've got all these different robots who, like, the villain's big plan is that we're going to upgrade the populace and eradicate these robots that look like scrap metal and just make it too expensive for them to actually get new parts and all. Like, that's very topical stuff. Even 20 years later, that's still something you can take a lot from that. But yeah, I really enjoy the movie a whole lot. I think it still holds up very well after all these years. It's a very good film. It's probably one of my favorite films from Blue Sky Studios in general. And this was coming at a time when the movies they were making weren't as great as their first couple movies were. But this was before, kind of when they had that second renaissance, starting with with stuff like Rio, and then the Peanuts movie, and then Ferdinand, and then wrapping it up with Spies in Disguise. This is kind of that in-between where they were more misses than hits in general, but when they were making their good stuff, they were actually putting a lot of effort into it, from the visual perspective, from the comedy perspective. a lot of it works. Sometimes the comedy doesn't work as well as it should, but for the most part, I really enjoyed the film a lot. I think it's a very fun film, a film that still very much holds up after all these years. It's definitely one of my favorite Blue Sky Studios movies, and it's one that I'm kind of glad they didn't go for they didn't actually make a sequel to it, because they basically put the focus on the Ice Age franchise, which the next movie is an Ice Age sequel, which I'm kind of glad for that, because, you know, contain this into one movie, I think is more than enough for this. It would have been cool to see them kind of expand on the world a little bit and do something a little bit different, but I don't know. Kind of, after what I saw with Rio 2, I feel like it kind of would have gone that same pathway there. They're just recopying the last movie in general. So, in a way, I'm kind of glad they didn't do a sequel, but in another way, still would have been cool to kind of see what they would do with another film in general. But again, I'm kind of glad they didn't go through with it and just focused more on other things like the Ice Age movies, which do get better from this point going forward. At least for the first couple of sequels they did. But we'll get to that one when we get to 2006 with Ice Age: The Meltdown. But I do recommend Robots a lot. I think it's a very good film. Definitely worth checking out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Bruce Willis in the thriller Hostage. But I digress. This is Hostage. This is based off of a book of the same name, and was adapted to the screen, with Bruce Willis starring as a police chief who takes place as the negotiator where the family of a wealthy accountant is held hostage by 3 teenagers. But all of a sudden, a situation pops up where they use that cop in particular to get inside the house himself, and basically the robbers are basically using his family as the hostage technique to get him to do the job for them. And this is one I did remember going to see in the theaters because I like Bruce Willis. I had just seen the Die Hard movies for the first time, and I wanted to see a lot more of his movies. So anytime a new film came out, I got optimistic and excited to see what he could do. And I did remember liking the film at the time. I hadn't seen it until I was getting ready to watch this again to talk about it on the show. And I did watch it, and honestly, I still like it, but I definitely see a lot more of the flaws to it than I did back in the day. Because there's a reason I kind of didn't want to watch it again after the first time I saw it. It does get kind of generic in terms of the story department and where it's going to go. I think it's a really interesting concept, though, where you have this cop who's basically, you know, trying to stop these robbers from basically kidnapping this family and stealing all this stuff, and then they got to use the cop to get them to do their dirty work for them. It's an interesting idea, but the tonal shift, I think, is really where the film really does lose me. I think in general that the film really, it works for the first half. The tension is there in the first half of the movie, but then when they have to go to the second half, where we have to have the big twist in the movie, it just really kind of falls apart at the end. And basically the movie has no idea what it really wants to be, basically turning one of the bad guys into just a straight up Hannibal Lecter type of person, because all he does is he turns into a serial killer madman by the end of it. Like, he sets the house on fire, and like he's seen as this dominant threat, and it's just like nothing about what happens at that point ever comes into comparison to what actually happens within what this guy was like in the first movie. It's like there was a tonal shift that just really came out of nowhere, and it just really kind of ruins the ebb and flow of the film. And it's just like what are you guys doing? Like, it really just falls apart at the worst possible time. And it's just like, so much of this movie could really work in the long run, but it just doesn't have enough there in the end to like really do something that's outside the norm, and just kind of just does the same thing we've seen done to death so many times. And it's just like, it kind of falls flat, pretty much. It falls flat on what could have been what was a really good first half in general, and just really just falls apart after that. And it's just absolutely pointless. It's a film that just becomes so pointless by the end of it, and it's just like, I really felt let down by watching it again. Like, I still enjoy it for the most part for the first half, but the second half is really where the film starts to really take its toll big time, and just kind of falls apart at the seams fairly quickly. So, yeah, overall, I still like the movie, but there's a reason why I haven't seen this movie in nearly 20 years, and probably why I won't probably check it out again for a long, long time, because it really is not a good film. I mean, it is a good film, but it's just one that I think for a one-time watch it's fine, but don't expect to watch this on multiple occasions afterwards, because, yeah, it's just not worth it to watch it more than once. At least I think it isn't, so. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Kevin Costner and Joan Allen in The Upside of Anger. I've honestly given Kevin Costner kind of a bad rap in the last couple of weeks. A couple weeks ago on the Review Network Talks About, I talked about how I didn't like the fact that he keeps gambling these big budgets on movies that nobody really wants to see, and it just like this time with this recent film he did, Horizon, like it probably makes people feel like I hate Kevin Costner. I don't hate Kevin Costner in general. I've seen a lot of great movies where he really does show that he is a really good actor. And this is definitely one of those movies that I really like him in. I think he's very good in this movie. And in the film, you have Joan Allen, who plays a sharp-witted suburban wife who's left to raise her 4 headstrong daughters when her husband unexpectedly disappears. And things get more hectic when she falls for her neighbor, played by Costner, a once-great baseball star turned radio DJ. This leaves her daughters out on a limb. They're forced to juggle their mom's romantic dilemmas as well as their own. And the daughters, some notable names in there, including Emma Rachel Wood, Alicia Witt, Kerry Russell, and Erica Christensen. This is directed by Mike Binder, who has made some films that we've talked about on here. Not many great ones in general, like Crossing the Bridge, Indian Summer, Blank Man. I don't think we covered The Sex Monster, and if I did, I don't really remember it. Yeah, I don't think I've ever talked about that one, but that was another one that he did. But this is probably one of his overall best films in general. It's a really good film. It's a really good romantic drama that really, with a lot of comedic elements to it, and it really takes this turn in the second act that doesn't really feel like it's anything we've seen done before. It's actually a very unique twist, kind of like the opposite of what happens with Hostage, but it feels like a film that you've seen done to death so many times. But then they pull that twist turn at the end of it, where it just really comes out. It really does feel refreshing and different, and it really does play it straightforward, like an adult setting. Like it doesn't really dumb down the audience's approval of the film or the way that they expected to take this film. It really does feel much like a film that it is trying to do something unique and different with it. And I like the twist, and I like the change that they made with it. I like it's a twist that does come out of nowhere, and it's a cold, hard bit of reality. Like I've always said before, life has no happy endings, and I like the way that like the way that this movie has the balls to say, life has no happy endings. You just got to accept it. And yeah, the film does a very good job of handling that. I think it's a very good, solid twist ending that really doesn't come out of nowhere, but it just I give it a lot of credit for having the balls to go ahead and do that, and it does work itself very well to a T. It's a very good film. It's a very good movie that takes a lot of chances, and most part makes it work very well. It's a really good movie. I can't recommend it enough. Definitely check it out, The Outside of Anger, and yeah, it's a really good film that I do recommend. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, which is Danny Boyle's latest film, and that is Millions. It's funny because I was about to make a joke about how the box is like the box from SpongeBob, that episode where Patrick and SpongeBob have the box and they just create their own imaginary adventures, and I was about to make a joke of that. But as soon as I stopped that clip, the plot of the movie actually comes into play here, and I didn't really get to that point in particular, but this is a film where the UK is about to switch its currency from pounds to euros, giving a gang a chance to rob the poorly secured train loaded with money on its way to incineration. But during the robbery, one of the big bags falls literally from the sky on Damien's playhouse, a 7-year-old given to talking to saints. The boy then starts seeing what the world and the people around him are made of, ethics, being human, and soul all come to the forefront in this movie. This is a film directed by Danny Boyle, and it's another really good movie that just shows what Danny Boyle's range as a director can really be. Like I've said before, this is a director that can do so many different genres and create this unique and incredible storyline here. This is his family film, and it's a really good family film, mostly benefiting by its great performance by Alex Attell, who plays Damien here, and you also have a really good cast of relative unknowns in general, and it's just a great kids' adventure film. It's a film that shows what Danny Boyle is capable of doing, at least with another genre outside of his own. Keep in mind, this is the guy that had just done 28 Days Later, which was a zombie movie, and now he's moving on to this kids' film, and it just feels like it's just the way that he's able to go from one different genre to the next. It just takes my breath away of how much this guy can do so many different genres and keep hitting bullseyes one after another. And yeah, he's had a couple of misfires here and there, but even the misfires are not bad movies in general. They're just missed opportunities, and this film is certainly not a missed opportunity. This is a really good film that I don't think a lot of people even have gotten to see. but it's definitely worth checking out. It's one of Danny Boyle's more interesting and unique films he's made as a filmmaker, and it's just a really good, fun kids film. It's a really good movie, a really great visual, impressive film in general, with a lot of very good talent involved. Can't recommend this one enough. Definitely check it out. Millions is definitely worth the watch. So overall, a very good week for movies indeed, and that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, though, we'll take a look at 4 more new movies. Certainly not as good as this week's movies. We've got Naomi Watts returning in the sequel to The Ring 2. We also have Michelle Trachtenberg in Disney's ice skating comedy Ice Princess. We have the Japanese anime movie Steam Boy, and also Woody Allen's latest film, Melinda and Melinda, with Will Ferrell among the all-star cast involved in it. So we'll take a look at those 4 movies. We'll see which ones have worked the best, and then the ones that don't necessarily work as well as I think people were expecting. But we'll take a look at them on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.